A father ends up in cell for selling his 2-month-old baby. Churches Council questions a paid advert on repentance. And Prime Minister O'Neill calls for unity amidst hardship.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Monday's news. Thanks for your company. A 32-year-old man is in police custody after he was alleged to have sold his 2-month-old son for 500 kina on Sunday morning. Karat Pori from Kubalea in East Sepik sold his baby to 2 brothers from Wabeg at the Unagi Oval here in Port Moresby and walked away with 500 kina in cash. His 26-year-old wife, Evodia Saleb, claims she was not aware of the sale, but the brothers who bought the baby had a different story.
The incident happened during the early hours of Sunday morning. According to Evodia Saleb, the biological mother, she had an argument with her husband on Saturday night and ran away from their 5-mile home in fear of her life, leaving the infant behind. Evodia said she reported her husband to the 6-mile police station for physically assaulting her and had no knowledge of her husband's plan to sell their firstborn son. She returned with police to their home on Sunday morning but realized her baby was already sold for 500 kina. She then placed another report against her husband at the 6-mile police station for selling their child.
Which may be time I'm
However, the brothers who bought the baby had a different story. Abel Michael confirmed the infant was sold to them at 7 on Sunday morning and said the wife, Evodia, was also present at the time the baby was sold.
500 kina money and Miloni Moshe, or the Pigini, give Moshe, or the knife, money and Toto Moshe, or the Pigini, now we give him over Wabek line or Wabek, now by you start one more Wabek land.
Abel bought the baby because he wanted a child, and he is now refusing to return the baby.
So Pigini Moshe, and Babik Sin, Abimba, Biet Baluari.
At 10 this morning, MTV accompanied the Gordon's police officers to 5-mile and picked up the infant at the Waramini block, the area where the baby was kept. The police then picked up the father, who was at the 6-mile holding cell, and transferred him to Gordon's police station. Following an interview with the Gordon's police station commander, Mark Mosina Kave, the father was put into custody and the case handed over to the Criminal Investigation Division to further investigate.
But selling of human beings that's the first incident that I come across, and children should, they should be held special in our hearts. They come out of love, so they shouldn't be sold like any other marketable commodities around.
Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
A 2-page paid advert in the newspapers on Repentance or National Day of Prayer has been questioned by the PNG Council of Churches. The advert called for an offering to be made to assist the Jews return to their land. The Council of Churches support the National Day of Prayer on Wednesday, August 26th, but questioned other objectives raised in the advert.
The advert outlined different reasons, quoting Bible verses supporting why idols should be brought forward to be burnt and why to give the Aliyah offering. The Aliyah offering, as defined in the advert, is the return of Jews to Israel from nations around the world where they have been scattered, as prophets foretold. Chairman of PNG Council of Churches, Bishop Danny Bray, was joined by 3 other member churches, explaining the purpose of the advert and who was behind it.
The churches should be informed. This is what we are doing, and come and sit face to face. And I think that's the way to go. But we do not come up with things and put them on paper and claim it is from the churches and invite people to participate.
This isn't the first time the government hasn't worked with the PNG Council of Churches, causing confusion and arising questions on what the Aliyah offering's purpose is. They called on the Speaker of Parliament, Theodore Zurnok, to come clear on who was coordinating the program and why the offering should go to the PNG National Community Transformation Network Project BSB account in Kundiawa.
And the issue of Papua New Guineans claiming to be Jewish going back to Israel is really something that is beyond our understanding. How would Papua New Guineans be Jewish?
The PNGCC claims that he has never been included and consulted on the Repentance Day since day one by the government, but urged Christians and followers to pray on Wednesday.
What we see now in paper, what we read about, it is not the efforts and the planning of the churches here in Papua New Guinea. So we are questioning this. Where are all this coming from?
Tomorrow at 10 a.m, Sir Michael Samara will meet to address the issue on the purpose of the covenant. Adelaide Sirox Kari, National MTV News.
The member for Sumkar, Ken Fairweather, turned himself into police today at the Madang Jomba police station following complaints laid against him by Brian Wafi. Wafi, the lawyer who represented the Department of Commerce, Trade and Industry against Fairweather in the Pacific Marine Industrial Zone case, has laid complaints that Mr. Fairweather had verbally abused him outside the courthouse.
Mr. Wafi said he was verbally abused by the Sumkar MP and so had to file a complaint. The Sumkar MP came in for questioning with his lawyer Yang Wadau, who had represented him and two others in the Pacific Marine Industrial Zone project court case against the Department of Commerce, Trade and Industry, which Brian Wafi represented.
We have in fact reported about 3 times so far, and this is our 3rd time now. And the complaint is about one of the lawyers for the PMI jet, Mr. Brian Wafi. He went and attempted to serve certain court documents, which is a notice of discontinuance to the member. And then there was some exchange of words, etc., between both of them, and the lawyer is complaining about the conduct.
Yang Wadau, in an attempt to explain why the Sumkar MP did what he did, said that Mr. Wafi was supposed to serve the notice only to him as Mr. Fairweather's attorney.
Honorable Ken Fairweather was having a meeting with some of the late Nancy Sullivan's friend, and we had the news that she went to New York and she had a car accident and died. So we were a bit devastated about that situation. And it all happened in that scenario when there was a confrontation, really, between the member and the lawyer.
The matter has been resolved. However, a formal compensation is yet to be made to Mr. Brian Wafi by the Sumkar MP.
They both apologized to one another. There's no more problem. But we have to really come to some compromise as to what mode of compensation that would be suitable for Brian Wafi.
Rachel Shise, National MTV News, Madang.
Another person at the Danwire community here in Port Moresby's former compound has died. Longtime resident and elder, late James Kamo from Simbu, died of stress last night. His death is the second following the death of a toddler after families were evicted 2 weeks ago.
Right now at the back of me, the families are now mourning and they're crying here. The body is now taken to the morgue.
Late James Kamo died after going through the stress of wondering how his family and extended family will survive in the city since the mass eviction took place. His death comes 24 hours after a toddler in the same community passed away due to poor sanitation and living conditions.
So we lost 2 lives, basing on as a result of this illegal eviction here. Who's got a title? Who's a title holder? Who is endorsing that eviction? It is clouded. We are not too sure. We lost a human life. It's a very serious matter, and our boys are working around the clock to engage a law company to take the matter to the National Court and resolve matters out there.
Despite these conditions, families here are adapting and keeping the faith in reclaiming the land. Leader Paul Kauper says the extension of the caveat order still remains for an indefinite period.
Caveat one legal document law, lands department law, stop him all now. That's like protecting me for a long time. 10 time, 8 time, all come. That's like caveat protecting me. And it's still in power and in force today as I am talking now.
It's a sad sight right in the heart of PNG's growing city, Port Moresby. Kids no longer attend school and employees of both private and public sector are found doing nothing but struggle to put their lives together.
Wearing one them, uniform one them, all missing class, all no sleep good, all no get good. So all get a line, all come line now. All walk man to all no go because cargo blows stable street.
Again, the leaders are calling for political intervention by NTD governor and other MPs to hear the case.
Do you any members of parliament to come to our assistance in times of need like that? Or we are just helpless? We are orphaned here right now, stranded, struggle, sleeping out here, thrown out here like that. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Boroko police have no records of the eviction orders for police to enter the area and assist in the demolition exercise. The Asian company Bluegrass Limited has again refused to comment on the matter. Jack Lapave, Junior National, MTV News.
Well, after 2 weeks since its demolition, believers of the St. Peter Catholic Church at Laloki outside Port Moresby have built a small tent to serve as a place of worship. And for the last 15 nights since the destruction, mothers have been gathering in front of the destroyed church, praying not only for a new church, but for justice to take its course. All remains of the church are still sitting untouched. Nothing has been removed and cleared by the new landlord. The Catholic Church was demolished on the 11th of August through an eviction exercise. The church has been sitting on customary land through a mutual agreement between the Catholic Church and the landowners. Chairman of St. Peter the Rock, Francis Anio, says while waiting for the church hierarchy to advise on the next action, they have been using this as a prayer venue. And still to come on National MTV News tonight, Prime Minister's call for unity in the face of adversity. Also, villagers concerned about the abuse of relief funds, and a Simbu committee in the city raised funds to aid the government's relief efforts. We'll bring you those stories after this break. Stay tuned. Good to have you back with the news. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has called on government, businesses and communities across the country to work together to face worsening drought conditions that could reach their peak in the first quarter of next year. He said today that this dry period could potentially be worse than the 1997 and 1998 droughts. The Prime Minister says for several months, the national government had been preparing for the possibility of an extended drought, with related frost made worse by effects of climate change. Currently, 1.8 million people have been affected by this extreme weather, of which 1.3 million people have been classed as being in the most at-risk Category 4 droughts.
As an immediate response, the national government has already arranged to deliver food and water to affected areas, as well as healthcare support. When necessary, schools are being directed to reduce their operating hours or to close temporarily. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says dealing with this drought is a long and drawn-out process involving careful coordination between the national government, local level authorities, business houses and, most importantly, people who live in affected communities. He is calling on provincial disaster centers to be proactive and identify risks and areas where response is needed. Provinces where sweet potato or cacao is the staple will be severely affected due to drying soil and potential of frost damage. Provinces which depend on sago and banana will be less affected in relation to food production, but pressure will be placed on their water sources. The PM is expected to visit drought and frost-affected areas this week for a first-hand inspection of current damage and ongoing risks. Neville Choi, National MTV News.
Two locals in the Yalibu-Pangia district of Southern Highlands have raised concerns of relief funds not reaching people. They claim there are third parties always working around to divert funds while pretending to deliver relief supplies to affected communities. Their concerns come as the government released 5 million kina for disaster-affected provinces.
The severe damage done by frost and the dry spell in Yalibu-Pange district will soon see relief supplies and funds being allocated to the affected communities. However, processes attached to the distribution of funds and relief of supplies leaves a lot of question for these two locals. They believe the middleman as the service provider gets a huge cut and the affected people receive little.
Now money must go no place. Disaster dry garden dry.
They want government intervention through relief funding, and supplies must reach and benefit communities affected.
Money must go through law. District must give him all councillors or leaders of place now deliver him place man place.
But the National Disaster Center says proper channels will be sought to monitor and report on how relief funding from the government is used.
At the end of the day, it's going to be the taxpayers' money going down. We want to see that those monies are spent wisely and not overspent with something which is not, it's not justified.
And a governor whose province is also affected with frost and dry spell says a proper mechanism and coordination must be in place for relief to reach people.
I would like to see a properly coordinated effort. I would like to see the Provincial Disaster Coordination Office actually take lead in mobilizing and organizing the relief arrangements.
Meanwhile, the interagency technical assessment teams have been dispatched to the 4 regions of the country to get a comprehensive assessment of the El Nino in the country. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
The Rabaul Volcanological Observatory in eastern New Britain province over the last 3 decades has had significant impact on the province. Much of the volcano-related information is relayed from the Volcano Centre, but obtaining those volcano data is sometimes very dangerous for volcanologists. It means getting into the danger zone to get the volcano data.
This is Mount Tavurvur in Rabaul, one of the active and menacing volcanoes in the Pacific. Mikael Sindang is a volcanologist who goes there once a month to assess and collect volcanic data. He starts at the foot of the volcano, where the temperature of the hot springs is measured, and his observations and assessments eventually land him at the crater of the volcano. The journey up to the crater of Mount Tavurvur and down is one of the very difficult journeys to make. It is a constant 45-degree climb and descents over trenches and solidified molten rocks that have accumulated during the last eruption 12 months ago.
So first eruption, pressure and working unstable. So it's continuous eruption now.
This was one of many times officers from the Volcano Center visited the volcano to collect vital information. Now, information gathered assists volcanologists to determine what's going to happen and when. Climbing volcanoes is a dangerous expedition. While a volcano eruption can be predicted, earthquakes cannot. Any sudden earth tremor can cause an avalanche on these rocks. Back at the Rabaul Volcanological Observatory office, earth movements are being monitored closely on this set of computers in real time. The information gathered here also comes from other small volcano centers as far as Manam in Medang and Esa Ala in Milne Bay provinces.
Okay, this map shows the earthquakes that have been recorded by Rabaul Volcano Observatory during the past probably 8 to 10 years.
In 1994, Tavurvur erupted and buried the town of Rabaul with volcanic ashes. The volcano isn't giving off ashes like before, but volcanologists say that doesn't make it any safer. As Papua New Guinea focuses its efforts on disaster mitigation, this small center and its offices will continue to play a key role. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Former Premier and pioneer businessman Kagul Korka has passed away at age 75. Mr. Korka from Kuminga village, Upper Nebilga in Western Highlands died on Saturday, August 22nd in Sydney, Australia, where he was undergoing liver treatment at the Prince of Wales Hospital. Mr. Korka was one of the few businessmen who made his fortune through agriculture, trucking and civil construction from the early 70s. He was declared the first millionaire in Western Highlands and the whole of Highlands region in 1975 and was awarded the Queen's Medal in the same year. The Western Highlands Provincial Government has pledged to meet all his funeral expenses for the statesman, whose body is expected to arrive here in Port Moresby on Saturday. He is survived by his 10 wives, 38 children and 72 grandchildren. There are 4 PNG coffee cooperatives taking part in a partnership with the Coffee Industry Corporation and Fair Trade International. For rice, the People's Cooperatives are partnering with provincial governments and a Papua New Guinean rice manufacturing company in purchase agreements to buy and sell rice. Industry experts say coffee and rice have the potential to create opportunities for locals to put money directly into their pockets. EMTV's Bethany Harriman takes another look at recent coffee and rice developments.
The Papua New Guinean coffee industry produces between 1 million and 1.5 million bags of coffee for export per year. That consistency is a result of work done by local farmers and support from the Coffee Industry Corporation. CIC's General Manager Dr. Kenny Mark, recently speaking at a wet mill project launching in Jiwaka, called on the government to support agricultural SMEs.
Something must come up so that all people we must come up economically independent. So I need the policy from government play minister. Maybe like him by your current slave law, maybe CIC.
In terms of growth, coffee exports, both Arabic and Robusta, worth over 900 million kina, PNG's largest agricultural contributor. Coffee cooperatives have played a role in the growth. Morobe's Neknasi has received support from the provincial government to build a coffee mill. It also gained an export license. Coffee now has the potential to give Papua New Guineans the opportunity to build agricultural small to medium enterprises and put money into the people's pocket. A lot has been said about building a more sustainable economy for Papua New Guinea, away from the dependency that the economy has on the more non-renewable resources like oil, gas and minerals. Now, coffee is the highest contributing cash crop from the agricultural sector. Another crop gaining momentum is rice. Trukai, Papua New Guinea's rice giant, is engaging local farmers in Morobe and West New Britain in a rice purchasing agreement where they will buy the rice off them. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Ley.
And now we check out the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3595 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our kina was trading at $0.3520, $0.4816 Australian dollars, $0.3054 euro, and 42.37 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee and cocoa closed the day higher, while copper closed lower. Palm oil, crude oil and copper all closed the day lower, while the Dow Jones closed at 944 points higher, and the ASX closed at 190 points higher, while the All Ordinaries closed at 5 points higher. Among stories coming up after the break, Agriculture Minister highlights a serious economic threat and a deadly typhoon in the Philippines. Stay with us for those stories. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. Coffee and cocoa trees that have been producing commercial beans over the last 30 years are aging and can no longer produce to their full capacity. This may become a serious economy threat to the income Papua New Guinea generates from exporting these commodities. Agriculture and Livestock Minister Tommy Tomskol highlighted these concerns in a seminar in Port Moresby last week.
The quality of the cocoa beans produced today is of a lesser value than the beans the same tree may have produced 10 years ago. Aging cocoa and coffee trees and the change in the weather temperature are two direct factors affecting the production quality of cocoa and coffee beans.
There is a decline in the coffee sector.
Since coffee production was introduced in Papua New Guinea, 95% of the beans exported then was Arabica, the finest quality of coffee beans, while only 5% was Robusta, a lower coffee quality.
We need to modernize this sector. At the same time, we need to change our mindset. This is not traditional agriculture. Modern agriculture is science.
While local cocoa and coffee growers commit themselves to growing these commodities, the weather continues to affect their quality. An Arabica coffee produces to its full potential in a climate temperature of 14 to 24 degrees Celsius. However, the same area where these Arabica coffee trees are now growing has a temperature of 30 to 36 degrees Celsius, and this makes it unsuitable for coffee trees to produce quality Arabica coffee.
Immediately, as knowledgeable people, you know that this coffee tree is not suitable for this temperature.
It takes at least 10 years for a coffee or cocoa tree to reach maturity and produce to its full potential. These cocoa and coffee trees have been producing beans for over 30 years. Their aging and the decline in production rate is signaling the need to plant new trees.
So if we don't start planting, we must not expect that this sector will grow. It will fail.
However, the Agriculture and Livestock Department is yet to establish a replanting program nationwide in order to substitute the aging trees. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Simbus working and living in Port Moresby have set up a committee to raise funds for El Nino relief in the province. All proceeds, including cash in kind, raised from this drive will be handed over to the National Disaster Centre for disbursement. The first fundraising activity was held on Saturday during the Simbu Provincial Day in Port Moresby.
While the National Disaster Centre and other concerned agencies are yet to send a team to assess the damage caused by the dry spell, Simbus working in Port Moresby have already started a fundraising drive.
Are organizing concerned citizens around the country, and particularly in Port Moresby, put together a committee. And we are going on a fundraising drive.
The funds raised will go towards the relief exercise that will be carried out by the National Disaster Centre to all areas affected by the prolonged dry weather. Last week, NDC announced that it has 5 million kina to carry out a nationwide assessment, and based on that assessment, a request will be put forward to the national government as to how much will be needed for the relief exercise.
To request some assistance to those provinces that are already being affected right now. We cannot leave them to wait for our plan to be in place and our relief effort to go. They must be addressed now. They need to be assisted right now. And of course, while doing that, we have our preparedness plan as well. That's already in place and will be formalized, and we will continue to implement that.
The first fundraising activity was held at the weekend, where cash donations as well as pledges were made towards this cause. The Simbu El Nino Relief Fundraising Committee is working with the NDC, and all donations in kind and cash will be given to NDC. Preference will be given to areas most affected.
What we collect, we are going to hand it over to the National Disaster and Emergency Service so that they will put together towards what they have for Simbu, so that they are able to take it up there and together with the provincial authorities, they will distribute it to the most and worst affected communities in the province.
The committee says there are unconfirmed reports of several deaths in the province due to the effects of the El Nino.
We are hearing, and from the reports we are getting from the National Disaster Center, is that 5 people have died so far in the province, including 4 children. The health authorities in the province are telling us that a lot of our people are going down with waterborne and environmental issues that are induced by the El Nino effect. And food gardens are drying out. Drinking water sources are drying out.
Chairman John Kama acknowledged and thanked all those who visited the stall in support. Michelle Amba, National EMTV News.
Turning to regional news, at least 15 people are dead, with others feared missing following a deadly visit from Typhoon Gandhi, which ripped through the northern Philippines at the weekend. Typhoon Gandhi had wind speeds of up to 185 kilometers per hour, causing flash floods and landslides and displacing up to 32,000 people. In line with forecast predictions, the typhoon moved out of the Philippines region today, allowing workplaces and schools to reopen in the capital of Manila. Although weakening slightly, the typhoon moved on to southern Japan today with record-breaking wind gusts of up to 250 kilometers per hour. The typhoon flipped cars and knocked over power lines in Japan's remote island of Ishigaki. 5 suspects are currently on trial for their involvement in a horrific massacre at Kenya's Garissa University College in April this year. 148 students were killed by hooded gunmen who stormed into the college campus with guns and explosives while claiming allegiance to Somalian extremist militant group Al-Shabaab. The militants spared the lives of Muslim students while Christian students were killed instantly. Police and soldiers had a standoff with the fighters, which lasted about 15 hours. Kenyan troops have been active in bordering Somalia since 2007, which has seen territorial tensions between both African nations. Over 400 Kenyans have been killed by Al-Shabaab militants since 2013 as the government struggles to stop fighters and weapons coming across both countries' 700-kilometer border. Well, True Guy Sports is coming up next. We'll bring you Besta Cup, which goes to the New Guinea Islands. Also, Prime Minister's 13, including NRL. Stay with us for those stories.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome to True Guy Sports. Over to football. The Manus Soccer Association is currently preparing for the New Guinea Islands leg of the Besta Regional Football Tournament. Running for a week, the competition will see teams from the autonomous region of Bougainville, New Ireland and East and West New Britain, including Manus Island, competing. Currently, West New Britain and Manus remain strong contenders for the region's top honours. Both provinces have their local associations who have provided players for the Telecom National Soccer League competition, with PNG captain David Muta coming from Kimbe. The tournament begins on Wednesday, with the matches to be held on the outer islands of Manus. The annual Prime Minister's 13 is set for next month, and PNG RFL Chairman Sandy Saka says players will be selected following the 4 Confederate Cups and the 2015 Intercity Cup Grand Final. MTV's Jian Kombeng has more.
This year's Prime Minister's 13 will see local-based players given the opportunity to represent Papua New Guinea in the clash against Australia. Selection will be done from the highest rugby league competition in the country, the Intercity Cup, as well as the National Championships, where the 4 Confederates are currently conducting their trials.
The National Championships, as you will probably know, all the Confederates, or 4 Confederates, are playing their Confederate trials. They will select their squads for the under-16, under-18, the women's and men's, senior men's. So all those converge and lay the first week of September. So the finals, the Nationals should be concluded by the 4th of September. The Digital Cup Grand Final is on the 6th of September.
Following the conclusion of the competitions, the selected team will head into camp 2 weeks prior to the match against Australia.
So the week following those 2 major events, the selectors will announce the squad for the PM's 13, which will obviously be in camp for 2 weeks prior to the big match.
Papua New Guinea is yet to win a Prime Minister's 13 match. The closest PNG has come was in 2007 with a draw. Dion Kombeng, National EMTV Sports.
To NRL, the Roosters toppled the Brisbane Broncos on Saturday night with a narrow win, 12 points to 10 at Allianz Stadium. Although hanging on with a long list of injured players, the win sees the Roosters at the top of the NRL points ladder, followed by the Brisbane Broncos and Queensland Cowboys, all on 36 points apiece.
Friday evening saw the Bulldogs show their strength against the Rabbitohs with a 32-18 win. South Sydney lost skipper Greg Inglis 10 minutes from full-time with a knee injury. The Sharks regrouped after their loss last weekend with a huge win over the Tigers 40-18. Valentine Holmes slayed any chance of a comeback for the Tigers with 2 tries. The Cowboys got back into their usual form with a massive 50-16 win over the Warriors. The New Zealanders didn't stand a chance against the North Queenslanders as they ran havoc over the Warriors. The Roosters knocked over the Broncos in a thrilling 2-point victory, 12-10. The Roosters just hung on after being reduced to just 1 man left on the bench. And the Titans and Eels managed to get a win over the Raiders and Sea Eagles respectively on Sunday afternoon. Dion Kombang, National MTV Sports.
Well, True Guy Sports continues with rugby union and athletics. Well, that's coming up after these short messages.
True Guy Sports.
Good to have you back with True Guy Sports. Saturday's game between the Pukpuks and Tahiti set the perfect tone for what is to come in the remaining games of the 2015 Oceania Cup. The backline combination of James Lumaris, Jackie Marcus and inclusion of 7-star Butler Morris proved to be a winning combination. However, much improvement will be needed in the forward pack for their next encounter against American Samoa and a solid Solomon Islands.
The weakness in Saturday's game was evident from the opening minutes of the first half. The Pukpuks were penalised, allowing Tahiti to open the scoreboard with a penalty kick on the 7th minute. Luckily for the Pukpuks, Tahiti's fly half Anthony Teske missed an easy penalty goal. The match picked up pace and momentum once the backline had more possession of the ball, with the halves Nigel Genia and Richard Aitzi feeding the ball to Tissa Kautu, Jackie Marcus and James Lumaris. Genia controlled the backline, although missing 2 out of 4 conversions, and opted 1 too many times to kick to touch when the Pukpuks were yet to win a line-out. With 10 minutes remaining in the first half, Martin Tae was awarded a yellow card for a dangerous tackle. Tahiti managed to crack the egg with Teske kicking a successful penalty goal. Halftime score PNG 13, Tahiti 3. Second half was no different, with the Pukpuks backline showing pure skill and brilliance, with Butler Morris scoring a try and setting up another. While a win is enough to surpass any criticism, the PNG Pukpuks must strengthen their forwards for the game against American Samoa and Solomon Islands on Sunday. Oceania Rugby will hold a press conference tomorrow where a team will be announced for the upcoming matches on Wednesday. Lorraine Genia, National MTV Sports.
To athletics, Sapula Yao and Donna Coniel are currently in Beijing, China for the World Championships, having qualified to participate by winning their respective events at the Oceania Area Championships in Cairns earlier this year. Yao competed in the 3,000-meter steeplechase on Saturday and clocked a time of 9 minutes and 51.01 seconds in warm conditions. Coniel will compete in the 800-meter heat on Wednesday morning. The PNG contingent was privileged to witness a dramatic 100-meter final on Sunday night, when Usain Bolt retained his 100-meter world title by the narrowest of margins from Justin Gatlin of the US, who had previously been unbeaten in 28 races this year. Well, that wraps up True Guy Sports tonight. We'll be back with the weather details. That's after this break. Stay tuned.
Guy Sports. True Guy Sports.
Taking a quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region, mostly sunny, fine tonight, expected in Port Moresby and Popondetta. In Momase, all centres to look forward to cloudy intervals with few showers at times, except Lae, mostly fine with chances of showers tonight. In the New Guinea Islands, brief showers expected in Kokopo and Rabaul. And lastly, in the Highlands region, all centres to look forward to thundery showers. Now, before we go, a quick recap of our main stories again. A father ends up in cell for selling his 2-month-old baby. Also, Churches Council questions a paid advert on repentance. And Prime Minister O'Neill calls for unity amidst the dry spell being experienced. Well, that's the way it is this Monday, the 24th of August, 2015. On behalf of the MTV News crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi. Thanks for your company. Take care and stay happy. Good night.